Hi everybody, hope you're well. So I'm here in my camper van, and my camper van is more than just a camper van. It's a multi-use vehicle for us. So obviously we go away camping and go to some beautiful places, mainly in the UK for us, and we sleep in it and use it as a base. But we cook in here, we use it as a changing room, so I do quite a lot of outdoor pursuits. Still do a bit of diving, some snorkeling, windsurfing, surfing, canoeing, kayaking. So it's good to come in here, put the heater on, dry yourself out and get changed in here. So we've got plenty of room in here. And I've probably had some form of vehicle that you can sleep in, mainly for being an outdoor pursuits instructor over the years, for nearly 40 years now. And this is what I've ended up with. This is my perfect type of camper van that meets our needs. So me and Joe and the two whippets, there's enough room in this mid-wheelbase high roof crafter to do everything we need to do. And having a garage in the back and a massive electric power system like the Bluetti system we've got in here is just fantastic. We've got everything we could possibly want, and in the setup we want as well. We don't have things like a shower and hot water systems and stuff like that because we just don't need it. We've adapted and modified over the years, and we know exactly what we need and what we want in our camper van. And it's just a really nice place to be. It's also my mobile office. I work remotely quite a lot, and I need internet access and my laptop. So if we have a problem with the internet where we live, I can drive up on top of the moor and I can work from the camper van. Or if I'm away somewhere, I can also set up the office in here with my laptop and everything I need and use it as a mobile office for that. So it really is a multi-purpose vehicle. And these things cost a lot of money. They're not cheap, are they? And you invest a lot of time and effort into them as well. And that's why I was interested to see, after doing everything we've done within the camper van, to see if we could also use this to power the cottage. And I recently did a video about showing my ideas around that, and showing how I charge our electric hybrid car from the Bluetti system as well. And this is like the next video follow on from that, because we've managed to fit a few things in the cottage and we've managed to move things forward a little bit. So as well as being able to run the Bluetti system in the shed and solar panels in the shed at the end of the garden, we can leave it in the camper van and use all the systems in the camper van to also charge the Bluetti system. So the Bluetti system is an AC200 main unit, and it's got the two backup batteries with it as well. So there's 6 kilowatt hours of power there, and the inverter is just over 2000 watts. More than we'd ever need in this camper van. Plenty to use all our electrical equipment in here, and to use toasters and sandwich makers and air fryers, electric kettles, everything you could possibly want around that. Still enough power to charge our e-bikes time and time again, and enough power within the actual camper van as well, because I'll put a video up here of we had the battery changed to an Eco-Tree battery some time back now, and there's a 320 amp hour Eco-Tree lithium phosphate battery in the camper van, and that's incredibly good. That's really good. I don't have an inverter. I use the power pack from the Bluetti to actually give me my mains power. But linking the Bluetti system into the camper van system, it's like a hybrid system. So what that means is, as I'm driving along, there's a power supply from the engine goes through a B2B charging unit into my Bluetti system and charges that up. The solar on the roof will go through my system within the camper van into the lithium battery and charge the Bluetti system up. And they're two independent units, so I can switch one on, or just use the battery within the camper van, because everything in the camper van is 12 volts. Or I can put the Bluetti system on and use the mains power from that and the 12 volt system from that if I want. So having all that capacity and the 350 watts of solar on the roof makes this a really versatile vehicle, not just to use when I'm away in it, but also when we're at home in the cottage. As we live in middle of nowhere on top of a hill in the North York Moors, and we get lots of power cuts. That's by the side of the government say we might have power cuts next year. we can actually switch over from the mains power in the cottage to the camper van and use the power from the camper van to actually run our cottage. And we've done the checks and everything, and we probably use on average about 6 kilowatt hours of power a day in the cottage, and that's about the same as would get out the camper van. So with the Bluetti system and backed up by the camper van system, we can literally link into the camper van like an auxiliary power supply. And then if I want to, I can, because the Bluetti system's mobile, I can actually take the Bluetti system out and put it into the cottage and plug straight into it. Or I can take it down to the bottom of the garden path, and when we have some nice sunny days, I can put lots of solar on the roof, and I can plug the system into the shed at the end of the garden and be able to charge the Bluetti system from the solar on the roof. And there's enough cables to run down the garden now, armoured cables actually fitted into the garden, that put a socket next to the house, so I can draw the power from that point as well. So we're really utilising all the power we can get out the camper van for various things around the house and not just in the camper van. The Bluetti system has been great. It's been faultless since I've had it, as been the Eco Tree and the camper van system that I've got. So the system in the camper van has been in for probably about 3 years now, and then we had the battery updated probably a year, 2 years ago for the lithium phosphate, and that's been fantastic. But the additionality of having this massive Bluetti system just gives us so much power that we can run everything we could possibly want and run the cottage off it as well, which is a great system to have. But one of the challenges I was talking about last time is that if you just run a mains cable from your camper van or take your power unit into your cottage or to your house, you're going to have to run cables all over the place to switch to make sure power's available where you need it. It's okay if you're just in one room, you might just have a TV on or a light on, but if you want your house lights to work, or your fridge or your freezer in a different room, as well as your TV in a different room, your shower, your electric shower, your central heating system, that really needs to go through the fuse box. So we've actually fitted a transfer switch to enable us to move from mains power over to auxiliary power, and that auxiliary power is either the camper van with the Bluetti system in, backed up by the camper van electrics, or it's down to the Bluetti system based in the shed with the solar panels on the shed roof, or actually a power unit like the Bluetti unit actually in the cottage, and we can plug straight into that. We have to manage the power we use and make sure we don't switch everything on at the same time, because there is a maximum level with the inverter, but we can switch that either within the fuse box or just switch those individual units off at those sockets. So this is an overview of what we've done so far, and give you an idea of how you can use the power within a camper van and these amazing power units like the Bluetti unit we've got to actually do more than support you in your camper van, your motorhome, your caravan, but actually use that power in different ways around the house or off-grid living. Enabling the switching, I fitted this transfer box. So this is mains power, in the middle's off, and then that's across the generator. So if the power goes off, switch this off and across the generator, and it goes to 40 amp cable and a 13 amp plug, and this can plug into, well, it will plug into a socket that I'm going to have on the floor down there. That'll run through the cottage and into the garden, where it can link to the shed or the camper van. But I can just put the unit here and plug it straight in. And the basis of this, we had this wired in for us. So there's our fuse box, all the circuit breakers in. The power comes through this initial fuse here, goes down into the transfer box, back out the transfer box and into the fuse box. And then in here, this cable just goes into the other connector of this to enable it to transfer the power over to the generator switch. So having that switch available, it means you're not having cables run all over the house. Everything is run through a fuse box. We need to label these up, but we can switch various things off from the fuse box. So We've had the AG converted to electricity, and if that's too much power we can switch that off. And to remind us not to maybe use the shower, we can switch the shower off, or we can choose which we want to leave on and what we can switch off. But all the light switches and all the sockets and everything in the house will run off the generator as it does from the mains, just by flicking the switch. Purely because I haven't got the cable running through the house to outside yet, I've just run an extension cable. I've unwound it so it doesn't produce a coil. There's Rosie looking awfully confused. I'll just run the cable through here and out to the camper van as a temporary measure. So there's the 2 backup batteries, and then there's the AC200MAX, and it's all switched on and it's linked into that system, and it's really cloudy today so there's no solar, and I have a switch here. This switch enables me to put the 12 volt supply into this to charge it. And how I do that is through this unit. And that booster unit takes low voltage in, boosts it through capacitors and coils, and puts it into there to charge the unit. But it's not running at the moment because everything's fully charged. But using that into the mains power socket onto the side of here means I can also put a 12 volt feed into there. I can put another feed into there and another feed into there. So I can plug solar or various other things into it if I need to. Just running a cable out of there. And into the house through the window for now. Back in the cottage, I've put the light on, the TV's on, my whippet's on, and I'm on mains power. So if I switch that across, the light's gone off, the TV's gone off, and everything obviously has gone off in the house. And now I'm going to switch over to the generator. And as you can see, the lights have come on, the TV's powering up again. I can use the lights around the house. And the central heating. So I'm really chuffed with that. Obviously, when I wire it in properly, we won't have an extension cable through the house. That's just to test it because I'm too eager to test it before and get everything in. But yeah, that socket's on, that chair's switched on. That timer's running for the electric auger. The TV's powered back up. So doing it in this way, your lights and everything around the house work, which is excellent. I'm so pleased with that. Some clips in now of the app on my phone, which will show you what the Bluetti is doing in the camper van, because I can control it all from my phone with the app on the phone linked to the Bluetti system outside. So this is the app for the Bluetti system. It's an updated app. It's just recently updated, but you can see here there's 97 watts going in and there's 228 watts going out. But I brought out the heater remote control, so I'll put the heater system on and you'll see the amps shoot up as the heater goes on. So there's enough power easily within this to run the central heating pump to enable us to have the central heating running in the house. And these other inputs, so the DC input and this other input here, means I can have multiple inputs going into this. So I can have portable solar panels, I can have the panels off the top of the camper van linked into it, or I can have the solar panels off the shed linked into it as well, or I could actually plug another power unit in there as well. So brilliant, it works. I'm so pleased that works. So that's something a little different from us, and I hope you found it interesting, and we'll keep you posted once I've got round to actually running the cables through the house. And I'll have a lead outside that I can plug into the lead that runs down to the garden. So I'll have one of those leads like you have on a campsite, and I'll be able to plug that into the socket that runs down to the end of the garden into the shed, so I can put the Bluetti system down there with the solar panels on the shed roof. And there'll be a lead that comes out the camper van that I can plug into that socket as well, and then it'll just link it straight through into the cottage. So all I need to do really, switch the Bluetti system on, flick over to the transfer switch and I run completely off that Bluetti system and just manage the amount of power I use. Obviously if I put the electric auger on full, the central heating on, all the lights in the house, the TV, the electric kettle, and start using all stuff like that, it's probably going to trip it because there'll be too much power, because it's just over 2 kilowatts power max through the inverter. But there's a capacitor there of 6 kilowatts and we use about 6 kilowatts a day, so as long as I don't put a surge through that that's greater than just over 2 kilowatts, it'll manage it through that way. So I'm really pleased, and I hope it gives some people some ideas of what they can do, because you know, these electrical systems and all the stuff you put in your camper van and the Bluetti systems, they're not cheap, and if you're just using them in your camper van, why not use them to your benefit to do something completely different as well. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.